Hi, I'm Jason Tabb, and this is my wife Vicki Tabb, and we're the founders of Hope's Haven Camp.
Hope's Haven is a camp for abused and neglected children who are or have been wards of the court. So they're either in foster care, group homes, or have been adopted. Hope's Haven came to be and was inspired by my own childhood. I had a very rough, dysfunctional childhood and was very broken as a young teenager and early adulthood. Spent a lot of time going to all kinds of people and therapists for help, and I could not seem to relieve the brokenness in my heart. And then I met Jesus Christ, and the healing and the relief from shame, the relief from the guilt, being discovery of who I am in Christ and having a new identity, so that I didn't really identify so much with the hurt, the brokenness, the pain of the past, and it began to create a whole new life for me and a whole lot of new possibilities. And it's been a great journey, and I know that that's exactly what these kids need, that their hurts that they carry are tremendous, and the burdens are heavy. The circumstances of their lives are really challenging, and the truth is that we can't really alleviate a lot of those circumstances, but your happiness, the peace or love in your heart, your hope, doesn't have to be based on circumstances. And so we at Hope's Haven is meant to just instill within them that hope that anchors their hearts, their souls to Him, that they find love, hope, healing in Christ, and that Christ truly can set them free. He is in particular interested in orphans. There's several verses that speak directly of God's heart for the orphaned child. And we want them to know that they are loved, in particular, that their plight and their circumstances are something that God understands, and that He is for them and not against them, that He wishes to heal their hearts, to bind up their wounds, and to set them on their way, and that their way does not have to be defined by the painful circumstances that they've had in the past. So Hope's Haven is intended to introduce them to Christ and to strengthen their relationship with Christ.
As new Christians, Vicki and I had the opportunity to serve at a camp in California called Camp Allendale. Camp Allendale has been serving kids who have been abused and neglected and have been through the system for over 40 years. It was through that experience that we were exposed to the model that Camp Hope's Haven has been designed after. And this therapeutic camp actually provides opportunity, as Vicki said, for healing. When we say therapeutic, we're talking about the heart. We're talking about how God heals the heart, and how we as Christians can come together to contribute our time through volunteering to allow God to reach out and touch these kids as we love on them. Hope's Haven is a great opportunity for anyone that feels a tug to reach out and help to heal a broken heart. God has done amazing things through Hope's Haven Camp, and the kids that come are given a new idea, a new understanding, not just a new life, but a whole new paradigm of who they are and what life can be for them as they are introduced to Jesus Christ and His love, and that He does have a plan and a purpose for their lives. It's exciting. It's exciting to see them transformed throughout the weeks of camp. It's exciting to see them come back year after year and see the changes that have taken place as Christ and His Spirit works in their lives. And we have seen tremendous changes also in our lives and in the lives of those who come to mentor and serve as mentors or guides, which are junior mentors, if you will. We also have opportunities for staff, such as cooking help photography, nurses, and well, people that come out and help with games. So there's lots of things that you can do. We also have opportunity to help prepare for camp, and we're really excited to be able to offer this opportunity for these children each summer, as well as opportunity for this mission that's right here in our backyard. So we welcome you to join the Hopes Haven family, and we hope to see you at camp. Take care.
Yes.
I was actually introduced to Hopes Haven through a friend, and I was kind of unsure what it was at first, but then the more I looked into it and the more I read about it, the more it seemed like something that was really worth my time. And especially after the first year that I finished, I really enjoyed my time there, and I really felt that these children needed me in their lives and I could really have a positive influence on them. So I think just continually working with them and interacting with them made God called out to me saying that He needed me to work with these kids to support them in any way that I could.
Well, I've worked with camps before, and it's just something that the Lord's called me into, working with youth. I work with youth in my church as well, so it just was a natural transition.
Well, I knew the Tabs pretty well. They're the ones that started camp, and just being friends of their family and how my family has been friends with them as well, it was kind of a progression into just helping out where I could until I could become a full-fledged guide. I wasn't quite old enough at the time to start off as a guide, but I would help out here and there where I could, and that's where I got my start from, is just knowing the family that started it.
Well, I'm David's wife, that helps. But I went to camp as a kid, not to Hopes Haven, but to other camps, to Christian camps in the area, and I just really loved camp. I loved the atmosphere. I loved being able to just kind of get away from whatever's going on at home and just being able to connect with nature and just connect with people and just kind of get away from whatever's going on and just enjoy that time and be closeness with God too, because you're away from all of that stuff. You can focus a little bit more. And it just was a really fun atmosphere, so I think flowing into being a staff member at camp wasn't really that difficult for me because I loved being a camper.
Well, I previously had done Hopes Haven 2 years in the past, and then I took a break because I was convinced God would call other very qualified people to camp at Hopes Haven. But God kept just speaking to me, and Shirley and Jesse spoke at our church, and I thought, boy, I hope people are listening to this because God is calling them to Hopes Haven. But through some experiences at school with some of my children in my classroom, I just really felt that God was calling me, and His prodding to my heart just never stopped. So I just answered that call, and I wasn't sure about it, but in faith I stepped out, and I'm so glad that I did.
I love working with those who are broken and bringing light and life to those places through joy, and camp's a perfect place for that because there's a lot of brokenness, but there's also a lot of joy that we get to bring into the lives around us.
So God called me to volunteer for camp. I heard about it through my church, and they came and did a presentation, and I was interested in it because I really enjoy working with kids. And when I heard it was like abused and neglected foster kids, I really had an interest in coming to work with them because I've never worked with them before, and I just felt like it would be like a really good opportunity to come and be able to like experience them and just be able to share, you know, what I've learned about Christ with them in their lives.
The first time God called me when it first started was we had been involved with a youth group for about 20 years, a youth group within our church. And after seeing some of the different lifestyles that they've been through, just knowing then that there were other children who like we weren't familiar with, but just the passion to try to help them beat the odds of what they've been living through and to overcome.
Well, my mom, she's sitting here next to me. She went a year before I did because I was too young, and she said she loved it. Like it was something she did that changed her life, and I just wanted to be a part of it, just to see what it was about.
I was inspired by previous mentors that had been with camp, and I had just been convicted. I had thought about it for some time, but I just came to a realization that that was where I needed to be. So I was inspired by the stories and the previous experiences that everybody else had had.
God called me to help volunteer with camp just from knowing Shirley and Jesse from going to my home church, and they approached me about helping out with it, and I prayed about it, and I felt God was calling me to help out with it because I believe that the youth of our generation and stuff, they're really important. It's important to share God with them and to be involved with their lives, and I just felt God was calling me to help out, just to encourage them to be Christians and help them live a godly life.
God called me to camp through first knowing Shirley and Jesse from church, but also through my husband's involvement. He encouraged me that it was something that he felt would really use the talents that God gave me, and I'm glad that I did.
Well, to be very honest, my biggest fear this year was returning as a mentor in my 50s. I thought, how on earth am I going to do this? I can't run as fast, I can't stay up as late, and I just have to tell you that we even had some mentors, at least one or two in their 60s, and they did great, and so did I in my 50s. There was nothing to be worried about. The camp experience was fine. Another thing is I played 2 games of Gold Rush, but not the third. See, they accommodate for people in their 50s.
I think it was just that it was something different. I wasn't used to it, and so he just helped me overcome it by realizing it was pretty fun to help out.
My biggest fear was not knowing what to expect, I think, and not having really ever worked directly with foster care children, just wondering if there would be something that I would be not equipped for. But then the realization too that God just provides everything that you need, trusting that, and being around all the other people who were there.
So coming into my first year, my biggest fear was that I came in as a guide. So I had just turned 16, and my biggest fear was that I wouldn't be able to make the connection with the kids as maybe like the older mentors would. But after that year, I quickly realized that, the kids just wanted support and attention from you, and they just didn't really care how old you were. And I was able to make connections with a lot of the campers who were there that I'll be able to remember forever.
I'm probably getting a connection with the campers as they come. But it's real easy. They come and they're all energetic and happy, and they just want to have a good time at camp. So they come up to you and they just want to do crafts or play games, and it's fun.
The biggest fear that I had for camp was I questioned my own spirituality. I wasn't quite sure if I was prepared to be able to answer some of the questions that some of the campers would have for me. But I was just able to, at camp we have a big family, and through that, if there's any questions, we help each other. But honestly, being around the kids is so comfortable, and their questions are just so genuine. There hasn't been anything that I haven't, by the grace of God, been able to answer, to the best of my ability. And I've been very comfortable with the relationships that I build with them.
My biggest fear was probably working with foster care kids who have been abused, because there's a huge stigma around how do you act around them, but in reality they're just really regular kids, and they just want to have fun and they just want to be loved. And so God just really showed me how to love really well during my first year and the years previous after that.
I think my biggest fear would be just the questions kids ask. The kids are very, they ask the tough questions, and they're not afraid to. And sometimes that can be difficult as adults, because we don't want to answer the tough questions. We want to kind of avoid those. So I think that was probably my biggest fears. But God helped me with that when they would ask the questions. I saw God working a lot during the weeks that I helped with camp. Just the fact of when they would ask the tough questions, he would give me the words to say and the Bible verses to back up my answers to them, and I thought that was just cool to see how he was working through that.
My biggest fear was not knowing what to say. some of these kids have been through situations that I don't even want to think about, and being faced with answering questions about it or having to respond to something that you don't know how to respond to was definitely my biggest fear. But the Lord equipped me through my career as a teacher and also just through the support of other staff at Hope's Haven. Nobody lets you go through anything by yourself. It's very supportive, and God was always there for me too, of course.
I think my biggest fear going into camp was not knowing what to say, if anything that would really come up, if these kids had any problems that I wasn't really prepared for, if they asked really deep, like, theological questions that I wasn't really prepared for either. But thankfully, nothing like that has really come up, and I really have been able to just help the kids in any way that I can. Usually I can refer any questions that I don't know the answers to our great leaders that we have. There are much more seasoned adults around that can help me answer some of these questions that the kids might ask me. And usually the kids are very respectful when they come to camp and don't really bring their issues with them per se. They might have had trouble at home, but at Hope's Haven it is a different atmosphere, and the kids are much more respectful and much more polite, and it's usually easier to help them in that way.
That's a really good question. I guess being around it so long, I'm not sure if I had necessarily a fear, but I would say one of the things is definitely whether or not I'm prepared enough to answer questions, whether or not I'm capable of handling different situations as they arise. Because I know some situations I probably don't know how to diffuse as well as I should, but fortunately there are a lot of people who do. So that's probably my biggest fear. And it's just become a lot of learning how to rely on God for wisdom for the situations and knowing how to either handle them or pass them along to somebody that does.
My biggest fear? I think just not being prepared. I know other people probably say that too. But I think that is kind of, we tend to disqualify ourselves a little bit because we think that, oh, well, I'm not schooled enough in this, or I'm struggling with this, or struggling with that. Like, how can God use me when I haven't worked through this myself? Or a lot of misconceptions and lies I think that we tell ourselves, and it's really easy to believe those lies and kind of let this, oh, well, maybe next year I'll help with camp, or next year I'll step out in faith. But I think it's just choosing not to be afraid even when you want to be afraid.
You gotta have a love for young people, and if you do, you have a chance to really plug into some neat young people that just, they need to see the love of God, firsthand experience.
Camp has really been impactful in my life, and there's just a lot of joy you get from being around children and getting to love on them, and it was really life-changing, and it made me see the way God loves us in a new perspective of just how He loves on the orphans and how He's been using me to love on them. So it really changes the way you view God in that sense.
That's a really good time, and they'll enjoy it.
I don't know, that's a tough one. I'd probably tell them just to come, just to try it out, bring a smile, because all the kids do, they love it. They make it so easy.
I would hope that I wouldn't have to say too much about camp. If anybody knows me or my family, I would hope that they would just know by our experience more than anything that camp changes your life, and it's definitely worth a shot. You can either think about it and not go, or you can go and give it a shot, and we chose to give it a shot. Everybody that's gone has come back or helped in some sort of way. It's fantastic.
I would say just open up your heart. If it's God's will that you come, follow that, because you are the one at the end of the week that's truly blessed. I mean, we go there going, oh, we're going to be mentors for all these campers, and what we walk away with in biblical truth and God speaking to our hearts and in the act of service, it far more outweighs sometimes what I think we really give back. They just really give back to us.
tell them it's a lot of fun. It's exhausting, but so much fun and so worth the exhaustion that you get from it. I would say that there's so many different roles at camp. You can find your niche in anything. It doesn't matter whether you're really good at cooking, or are you good at just helping set up, come help us set up a camp, or being a mentor, because I know people think initially about, oh, I have to work with this child, and what if I break them, and oh no, but you don't have to even take that kind of a role if you don't want to. If you just want to be there, be a part of kitchen staff, and do that, because that's still a big help of camp. I mean, we love food, we love to eat at camp, and it's a big part too. So I mean, there's other roles that we need help with at camp, behind the scenes roles, that you don't necessarily have to be right there with the campers if you don't feel comfortable with that, or if you want to kind of watch from the sidelines first and then do that.
Just try it. I mean, if you're unsure as to whether or not you do well, just come and try it. There's plenty of people that can guide you and help you along. We have great staff, and they're just fantastic at making you feel involved, and just seeing the difference in the kids' lives, even just a few days, is just one significant reason to help out.
I would tell them that it is just such an awesome experience, getting to meet these amazing kids and see how God has worked in their life, and it just brings you back to God too. It's not just them, it's you too.
I would definitely tell them to do it. It's a big step, it's a big leap of faith, but I found it more rewarding for myself to be at camp, because like I was saying, with just with the questions that the kids ask and stuff, I mean, you don't really know that those Bible verses and stuff until you're in those situations, and it's just cool to see how God works in those moments to give you the words to say and the verses and stuff.
So if you were wondering about volunteering at camp, I would say that, praying about it first would be the biggest thing. Just ask God to help you with maybe what role you want to do. And I would just say that coming into it, the kids really just want you to be there, and like being yourself is one of the biggest parts of you that you can bring to camp. And there's so many roles that you can fill, so you don't have to worry about, you could be a guide or a mentor or even help in the kitchen, but just, if you have experience with working with kids and just interacting with them and bringing what you've learned about Christ in your lives and just being able to share it with the campers who are there.
I would tell them that you absolutely should, and that it's a wonderful experience. I would just say, even if you enjoy working with kids at all, it's going to be a wonderful use of your time. I think it's definitely gratifying just to see the impact you can have on these kids just in the short time that you're there. Even the first day that you get there, these kids might be kind of quiet and not really don't know who you are, but by the end of the week, the time you're done with them, they'll absolutely love you and be begging you not to leave, because you've grown so close. And I think growing closer with the kids and all the other staff in general is really the most gratifying part of the whole experience.
I would first encourage them, first to pray about it, but to be able to look at it as an opportunity, not only to be able to use by God for the children's lives, but also, and this might sound selfish, but for what you get in return as well. I think once I started working for Hope's Haven or volunteering, my own spiritual life, I have to say, I just felt like I was drawing closer to God, because I had to depend more on Him as well. And so it's something that you can't really, any fear that you had turns into favor.
So my favorite part of camp is just being able to see the kids come in and their excitement for camp. And for many of these kids, they may have hard backgrounds, or they may have had difficult childhoods, but just for them, they're able to come in and just be able to put that aside and come in and just want to have a fun week, and they want to learn more about God. And in the beginning of the week, some of them are a little shy and nervous about possibly doing activities or interacting with the guides and mentors, but by the end of the week, a lot of them are just so excited about wanting to do it and just wanting to be the first in line. And one of the biggest things that I've really enjoyed is when they memorize verses. So each day the kids are given the opportunity to memorize a verse. And if they do, they're offered a reward or a prize or something. But for many of the kids, just the accomplishment of memorizing the verses is enough for them. And they just want to get it done in the morning, and they're so excited about doing it and sharing it with their mentors. And even when we come in big groups, they're allowed to share it with everybody. And then sometimes by the end of the week, you have everybody wants to share that they've did the verse for the week. So I just think that's one of my favorite parts of camp, is just seeing them being able to just come in and learn their verses and being able to take those back to wherever they go back to after camp.
My favorite part was I don't want to say the downtime, but the time that the kids were not necessarily structured, only in the fact that I think that's when they were the most open to you in a way that they were less guarded, I would say. So even though the downtime got a little crazy, I say when the kids were less guarded and they just opened up to you.
Well, being a musician, I definitely enjoy being able to lead the kids in worship, just being able to play the music and try to create an atmosphere of worship for them. For some of them who may not have been exposed to that, or the ones that have, just give them both an enjoyable time and a time to be able to worship God.
I don't know, I like all of camp. I don't know if I have, I love spending time with the campers. I think that's one of definitely my favorite things, is just creating relationships with the campers and seeing that grow every year and seeing that come back every year, like David said, because there's some of these campers that you've seen since the first year you helped, and they've come back and they remember you, they remember the nicknames they gave you, and just that relationship kind of gets rekindled every year, which is just really cool and neat to see that, wow, they've impacted me and somehow I've impacted them because they haven't forgotten. That's really a neat thing and a really encouraging thing. Wow, okay, if I'm impacting them with those little things that are quirky things, hopefully some of the whole faith relationship is also rubbing off and not just your silly quirky personality.
I love interacting with the kids and just getting to spend time playing with them, and just allowing them that chance to be a child and to have those childhood memories.
Well, my favorite part about camp is growing closer with the kids and all the staff in general. I think we do have a really wonderful staff of kind, caring people who really do love God and want to serve Him and do His will. And I think it's great that we are able to help these children through the tough things that might have happened in their past, and we're able to help them work through some of their problems that they had, and maybe give them some of the childhood that they might have missed out on while they were going through all the different problems that they've had in their life.
My favorite part of camp would have to be games. I like to play with the kids and just be able to run around with them and see all their energy, and they like to wear me out, so that's always good.
My favorite part of camp isn't any of the structured times. It's kind of those little 10-minute free blocks in between stuff. It's just really that chance you get to connect with the kids, whether you're playing around with Gaga or basketball or just sitting on a porch swing talking. It's just where you really get to connect with them.
Just being with the young people and, just getting involved with them and influencing them.
Definitely helping the kids.
Wow, my favorite part of camp. I want to say the campfires, but there's something that goes along with the campfire time that makes it my favorite part of camp, and that's the interaction with the children. Because I did 2 weeks, I did middle school week and high school week. I loved them both separately, but both equally as much, because the interaction with the children is something you just don't forget, you don't get over. We've done mission trips and things, but this is no different than a mission trip. You go to serve, but you're blessed just with the interaction of the campers.
The games, getting to play the games with the kids.
Camp family. I look forward to it every year. I look forward to seeing everybody that helps with camp throughout the year. We don't get to see each other very much. Everybody's so busy and so involved, but when we do, it's as if we never left each other. It's just a huge network and a family.
I'd have to say again what I have been saying, just watching God work during the week, and seeing how He impacts the kids' lives throughout our time, and how you see a difference in them from the end of the week compared to the beginning, and just how He uses the whole week just to impact the kids as well as the staff and the mentors and the guides. It just all works together for His glory, and I just think that's the coolest thing to see happen.
I think what has impacted me the most is just how God reminds you about things in your own life through these kids who have been through so much. It kind of reminded me that sometimes I get a little negative, like, oh man, why do I have to go through this? And then you hear what these kids are going through, and it kind of just brings you back to, you know what, look at them. They are smiling and playing and having this great old life, even though life has thrown the worst at them. And it's just a good reminder for me that maybe my life isn't so bad when I get down in the dumps.
Definitely the children's lives and the blessings in my own life, things that I took for granted, not necessarily intentionally, but it's just a realization that life is really difficult for a lot of people.
Probably the outlook they have on their life after everything they've gone through. I mean, I can relate to some things, but just the way they go through their daily lives after everything, it's really special.
I would say it's impacted my life with the Lord. There isn't a day that doesn't go by that I don't think about the campers that I've been with, the lives that I've impacted, hopefully, and I think that they've changed me more than I could ever help them. So that's pretty amazing.
The kids, definitely the kids. It almost always goes back to them. And just, it's funny how you start off so young. You see there's some campers that have gone throughout the entire camp not series, but they've gone throughout all the different years of the camp, and you just see them grow from one year to the other, and they come back and it's like they never left. I love that.
I don't know if there's one thing about camp that's impacted me the most. I think camp as a whole has impacted me to make me more patient, as David had said, because definitely if you want a crash course in patience, that'll definitely do ya. But definitely the kids too. I mean, just the way they impact your lives, and you go to hopefully bless somebody else, but you kind of come away from it blessed, which I think is a really neat thing to see every year, and I think it impacts you every time.
Listening to the stories that the young people, the children bring of what's going on in their lives, how that's so different from what we consider normal, but you know, how that God has changed lives over the years through camp.
I think during testimony time, it's just a time where we sit around the campfire, and it's a serious time of just sharing our life stories and places we've been, the darker places and the lighter places. And it's impactful to hear the stories that they share, and it just really changes your view on life, because before you come to camp, you can hear about like statistics and it's only numbers. But once you're there, it's like these are real people, and it's impactful, and it just allows you to care more because you have names and faces that you can connect those numbers to.
Probably seeing the way that the kids can change towards the end of the week.
I think the act of forgiveness. I think the capacity for the children that have been in the foster care system, walking away from this year, the story of Joseph from the pit to the palace, and hearing them talk about the story, I was really touched and really humbled that God actually was teaching me that I need to forgive deeper, that I need to really look at the depth of forgiveness that I give to others, because these children have an amazing ability not only to forgive, but they have an amazing resiliency, and in turn have an amazing way that they open up to God and allow Him to move in their lives.
I keep going back to it, but the kids have really impacted me. I'm just so encouraged by their love for the Lord and their perseverance. They're able to be to overcome all of the obstacles that they've had throughout their lives. It's incredible when I hear these kids' stories. I'm like, I don't know how you could have possibly dealt with that in your life, and here you are, and you're an amazing individual. And I think I admire them in that respect. And it's the kids. Just I really enjoy working with the kids and helping them as much as I can.
So one of the things that has impacted me most about camp is when the campers come in, is again their excitement about coming in and being able to spend the week with everybody. And I think the Bible sword drills is something that's neat that I like to see, because at the beginning of the week some of them they open their Bibles and they look for it, but by the end of the week they want to do it as fast as they can. And while they're still having fun doing the event, they're still able to use that to learn about God. And it's something that they can use and take back to where they came from and just be able to flip through their Bible and look at the verses. And I think that the campfire is also something that's impacted me, because it's a time where the kids can come and they can share their personal testimonies, and the staff can also share their testimonies too. And I think it's just something that, even though for the staff and the campers maybe they've never seen each other before, but it's just something that people can just come together and embrace one another at the campfire at nights, and they can just share their own personal stories with each other.
I love camp atmosphere, and I'm really, really passionate about the ministry that Hope's Haven does. I just love being a part of it, and it's fun, and we have lots of coffee. So.
Well, I told you that I was drawn back recently after a time off. But now once I've been there, I can't imagine not being there next summer. I can't imagine not seeing the campers again when they hug you goodbye and say, I'll see you next summer. How do you look at them and go, well, if I'm not too busy, well, I hope to catch you somewhere again. The connections you make during that week, that's what really calls you back. And just to have a week away from the chaos of life and really be in nature, communing with these kids and the mentors, and it's just a really great experience that I've enjoyed tremendously.
Past campers, relationships you build from last year, the year before. It's nice to go back and see the same faces.
I would have to agree with Jonathan. Just the relationships that you build with the campers definitely draws you back. You're curious to see where their walk is in life and how they're doing. And it's also exciting to meet the new ones, to be able to be a part of their lives and kind of build that family even bigger and the relationship. So, you just got to go back.
So the thing that draws me back to camp every year is just being able to see some of the returning campers come back and how they've grown either in their own lives or in their lives with Christ. So many of them come back and they say like, oh, I've used my Bible I got at Hope's Haven last year, and I've used it, I did the activities in it, and I've been able to learn more, and just the knowledge about God and the Bible stories that they hear at Hope's Haven. They're like, yeah, I've heard this before, or I've been able to read this in my Bible. And I also think it's neat that for the new campers who come, they may be a little shy, but then the returning campers are like, oh no, this is fun, and they kind of help encourage the other kids to want to do it. So by the end of the week, they're all just having fun, and they're all just one big family, even though they may have never seen each other before.
All of it. Well, it sounds like I'm saying this for all of them, but the kids really.
Just being a part of, the young people's lives.
Being able to see the campers every year. It's a lot of fun to reconnect with them, and it like I said, it's like you never left.
I just love it. I look forward to it every year. In some ways, camp is the highlight of my summer. And even though I kind of try and push aside, okay, I'm only going to help with these 2 weeks. That was our situation this year. We were oh, okay, we're help with the first week and the third week. We can't help with the middle week because of work and whatever. And then we got done with the first week, and we're really feeling a tugging at our hearts. I'm so sad I'm not going to be here this week. So then we tried to rearrange our schedules, still be able to be there some of the time to lead worship. And so it would just always feel like tugging at our hearts just to come back, and because it's just always such a good time and just such a blessing and a good opportunity to be a blessing to others.
I think initially, again, it was that desire to quote unquote help, but when you see the kids over time and even just the differences in their lives and how much the difference camp has made, just the difference Jesus Christ has made, when you see when you hear their stories and hear about their walk and their faith and everything, to me, it's just such a privilege to be able to be a part of that, I would say.
Well, like I said, I like playing games, running around with the kids, and just being with them. And I love seeing kids from previous years coming back and just be able to continue to grow those relationships with them and to see how they grew over the year from last year. And you know, again, just to see how God works again in a different aspect the next year. So I really just like coming back and seeing all the kids and all the friendly faces of the staff and everything.
The kids, 100%. Like I said, they're just amazing kids who are just so full of love and energy, and I can't wait to see them again.
For me, camp has changed me in the respect that it's kind of like going on a missions trip where you think you are going into, you think you're going to go in and make a difference. And I think we all make a difference in serving God in the ways that we do. But it has shown me that really, again, God is the one who makes the difference. He just uses us as vessels. And to learn to just be more obedient and trust that He's sending me and guiding me where He wants me to go, even when I'm not comfortable or I don't feel qualified. So.
I think camp has made me more of a patient person, helping, how do I want to word this? Just being able to understand other people's viewpoints and see where they're coming from and understanding the hardships that they've gone through. It's really given me a greater love for the Lord too, by seeing the mysterious ways that He does work through these children's lives and through my own life in general. I never would have known how to interact with these kids, but somehow I find that when I'm there, I do what is right and the right thing to do, and I feel the Spirit working through me in that way, and I think that's definitely wonderful.
So volunteering at Hope's Haven was a great experience because I've always loved working with children, so it's just continued my passion and love for working with them. And after volunteering and working with them, it's just helped me to see how having a family with a mom, dad, and siblings has been one of the greatest blessings that I've had in my life. Because for some of these kids, you know, they haven't had that and they've been moved to different homes throughout their lives. But just for myself, being able to offer like love and attention to them, it helps to show them that, you know, there are people that will care about them, and just being able to share that, you know, Jesus is always with you. So even though the staff can't go with you after you leave camp, that they can take Jesus and the stories they've heard about Him in their Bibles and just take that with them out into their communities and their homes, wherever they may go.
I mean, just seeing God work so much, I mean, it's definitely, it's helped me build my faith in God, seeing how He works and how He's moving. You know, on a day-to-day aspect, you don't always necessarily see, you know, how God's working sometimes just because of busyness of life and stuff. But when you help with camp and you're in that confined area with the kids and stuff, you see it way more because it's, you know, it's right there, it's right in front of you. And I think just helping with camp has definitely helped my faith in God to grow. And I think I take more from camp, I think, home with me than the kids probably do, and that's why I love helping with camp.
Like I said before, camp has really changed me just by reminding me the blessings that the Lord has given me, and that sometimes trials aren't as bad as they seem.
Well, I've definitely become more patient. That's definitely one thing that's happened. Patience, learning how to diffuse different situations, and just overall just being a better person just by seeing what they've gone through and listening to their stories. It really gives you a different perspective on how you view life and how, realistically, how good God has made your life. And it's pretty impactful.
Well, it's made me more patient, as David said. I find that I can just handle some situations better than what I did before I came to camp, if that makes any sense. Like, you don't get as frazzled as easily in some ways, or if there are other kids around, like, you know how to talk to them better, you know, in youth group or in whatever other situations. You just kind of have a better knowledge, I guess, of how kids think in some ways, because you worked with them at camp and you were immersed with them for weeks in the summer that, you know, some people are kind of getting all like freaked out about these kids doing this or that, and you're kind of like, we had worse at camp. You know, like we had situations that were difficult at camp too, and you just kind of roll with it and just do your best to be loving to them anyways and see them love you in return, and it's just really good.
I think camp has changed me in the fact that I now value the foster care system in a way that I haven't before. Being in communication with the different family situations by being a public school teacher, I see many different scenarios. I now hear more about parents in difficult situations that sometimes we judge them when their children perhaps are in the foster care system, and I've come to realize it's difficult on them. We look at foster care kids and sometimes I think we put them in a box and we put a label on what we think a foster care kid would look like. That's so not true. Kids are gorgeous and they're wonderful and they're talented and they have such great personalities. So I think I've just come to respect what goes on with caseworkers, with families, with foster care families, with the children, and even the siblings involved. It's a whole different organization, event that works and works well to give kids a different hope and future.
It changed my outlook on life. I mean, I go through tough things in my life and I just revert back to what those kids talk about, and it's definitely a game changer when they talk about some of the stuff they've gone through, and you would never know by just looking at their face. It's pretty crazy.
Camp has changed me in so many different ways. It's hard to just pinpoint one, but I can tell you that I don't feel the sense of hopelessness that I used to, because when you see the hope that those children have in their eyes when they leave camp, that 1 week is devoted for them, and they take that week with them the other 360 days a year, and I can apply that to my everyday life. It's a hands-on experience that I'm able to take home to my children, to my community, and that's what we're here for. We're here to serve. So that's how it's changed my life. I've gotten to give a hands-on experience, and there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
It's given me a greater awareness of children that are hurting and the various things that they're going through neglect or abuse.
I would say it's probably changed me in that I feel a little more confident in like opening up to other people and stuff.
I always know I've been an empathetic person, but I believe it's made me more empathetic and just learning the best way to love people, because we can love people in the way that we think is right, but it may not always be the right way. So it's shown me new ways to love on the children especially, and it's made it so I'm more careful with the words I use, because I know that they bring life and light or death to people. And so I'm just more aware of how I'm coming across towards people, not just in a camp atmosphere, but also outside of that.
It's been a blessing to be able to serve with my family members at camp. I've got 2 children that have been volunteering as well, and they just really, it's neat to be able to minister with my children. So if you think about doing something as a family, this is a good spot for you.
I don't know. I guess getting all the kids, they just think it's the coolest thing that my mom has her son, and they get to see us and how close we are and how good of a relationship we have.
My favorite part about working with my sons is, for that week, we smile at each other a lot because you have to. And also, just, a lot of the kids there don't have that family. Some of them do. Some of them, live in different home settings, foster families, adoptive families. but it's really neat just to be able to be there and show my kids as well that we are a network, we are a team, we work together, and we have values, morals, and boundaries. To be able to pass that on in a group setting and be able to receive and, show each other that uniformity as we walk with the Lord is truly a genuine experience that I can't give my kids when we're at home. The role models that are given to my kids there as well is something that, there again, it's a great model for all of us to live by. So the week at camp is like a perfect bubble. I love it.